When the Rosh Chodesh Nisan falls on Shabbat, like it does this year, we take out 3 Sifre Torah. We read the weekly Parashah from the first Sefer, the Rosh Chodesh portion is read from the second Sefer, and the special reading for Shabbat HaChodesh is read from the third Sefer. According to Maran and the Beit Yosef, Kaddish is not recited after the first Sefer, because only 6 Olim are sent up to the first Sefer, which is less than the minimum amount of Olim for Shabbat morning. According to Maran, Kaddish is only recited after the second and third Sifrei Torah. However, the custom in Halab was to send at least 1 extra Oleh to the first Sefer, and to recite Kaddish after the first Sefer as well, for a total of 3 Qaddishim. This custom was documented by Rabbi Rafael Shlomo Lanyado, the chief rabbi of Halab towards the end of the 18th century. In his book Betinot Shel Shlomo, he wrote, "The custom of our city is to recite Kaddish between the first Sefer and the second Sefer on a day that 3 Sifrei Torah are brought out. And the reason is because we always send up more than 7 Olim to the first Sefer. The exception to this is Simchat Torah, when Kaddish is not recited after the first Sefer, based on Maran's second reason for not reciting Kaddish after the first Sefer on Simchat Torah, which is so it won't look like we don't want to begin Bereshit again. Therefore, we begin Bereshit immediately, with as little interruption as possible." And even though Maran's first reason of not saying Kaddish after the first Sefer on Simchat Torah is so that it will be similar to the Shabbatot when we take out 3 Sifrei Torah, when Kaddish is not recited after the first Sefer, Rabbi Lanyado explained that this reason only applies to a place that has a custom to send up 6 Olim to the first Sefer. But our custom is to send up at least 7 Olim to the first Sefer. And we should maintain our custom, as Rabbi Lanyado stated, that anything that is dependent on custom should not be challenged or changed. We have our customs and others have theirs. And he continued saying that this custom of sending up at least 7 Olim to the first Sefer was established by rabbis of previous generations in Halab, and therefore it would be improper for him to change it. This custom of reciting Kaddish after each Sefer on a day that we take out 3 Sifrei Torah was also documented by Hakam Abraham Antebi, who was the chief rabbi of Halab in the beginning of the 19th century. In his book, Hokmah Musar, he wrote, "On Rosh Chodesh Tebet that falls on Shabbat, when we also take out 3 Sifrei Torah, a Kaddish is required after each Sefer Torah, according to our custom of sending up 7 Olim to the first Sefer." According to the book Derech Eretz, this custom of sending up at least 7 Olim to the first Sefer and reciting Kaddish after each Sefer continued in Halab into the 1980s. We take out 3 Sifrei Torah when Rosh Chodesh Adar, or Rosh Chodesh Nisan, or Rosh Chodesh Tebet falls on Shabbat. In all of these cases, we do not read the Haftarah for Rosh Chodesh. On Rosh Chodesh Adar, we read the Haftarah for Shekalim. On Rosh Chodesh Nisan, we read the Haftarah for HaChodesh. And on Rosh Chodesh Tebet, we read the Haftarah for Hanukkah. In the Beit Yosef, Maran discusses 2 other cases when Rosh Chodesh falls on Shabbat, but the Haftarah for Rosh Chodesh is not read. One is Rosh Chodesh Ab, when we read the Haftarah for the 3 weeks. And the other is Rosh Chodesh Elul, which occurs during a series of 7 Haftarot of comfort following Tisha B'Av. In those cases, Maran writes, to add the first and last verse of the Rosh Chodesh Haftarah after the special Haftarah. However, our custom is not to add any verses from the Rosh Chodesh Haftarah. We only read the special Haftarah for that Shabbat without adding any additional verses. Our custom was documented by Rabbi Yitzhak Palaji in his book Yefei Leleb. He explained that we don't read verses from different books of the prophets in one Haftarah reading, as specified by Muram in his Haggahot, and Medallegin min Nabi le-Nabi. We don't jump from one book of the prophets to another. So since the Rosh Chodesh Haftarah is from the book of Yeshaya, and the Haftarah for the special Shabbatot is usually from a different book of the prophets, we don't add the verses from the Rosh Chodesh Haftarah. And even on Rosh Chodesh Elul, when the special Haftarah is also from the book of Yeshaya, we still don't add the first and last verse from the Rosh Chodesh Haftarah. Rabbi Yitzhak Palaji recounted a story when he went up for Maftir on Rosh Chodesh Elul that fell on Shabbat. This was in front of many great rabbis, including his father, Rabbi Haim Palaji. and he did not add the verses from the Rosh Chodesh Haftarah, and nobody said a word. So he concluded that this verified the accepted custom not to add verses to the Haftarah. And he added that all the more so, we do not add the verses from the Haftarah of Mahar Chodesh to a special Haftarah when Rosh Chodesh falls on Sunday for the months of Nisan, Tebet, Ab, Elul, or Adar. And this was always the custom in our community as well. So when we take out 3 Sifrei Torah, we send up at least 7 olim to the first Sefer and recite Kaddish after each Sefer. And when we read the special Haftarah for that Shabbat, we don't add any verses from the Haftarah for Rosh Chodesh or from Mahar Chodesh. Similarly, when Rosh Chodesh Ab or Elul falls on Shabbat, we only read the special Haftarah without adding any verses from the Haftarah for Rosh Chodesh or from Mahar Chodesh.